Hi everybody, Sniper69 here, and today I'm finally bringing you a Scharnhorst review. And where to start with this beautiful ship? I mean, it just looks gorgeous. The camouflage, just the silhouette, just the way it looks, just feels so good. But in this video, I'll discuss some of the reasons why the Scharnhorst is one of the best premiums available, and I'll be looking at the armor, the guns, its maneuverability, concealment, upgrades, captain skills, and finally I'll finish with some gameplay. So the too late didn't watch version is the Scharnhorst is the Supremium available in World of Warships. It is by far one of the most fun and versatile premium battleships available to basically any player, and I strongly recommend this purchase. So firstly, let's have a look at the survivability of the Scharnhorst. It has 56,300 HP, it has 24% armor, torpedo reduction, and its armor is very strong for its tier. So it has 25mm upper bow armor and upper deck armor for the bow. The lower bow armor is 70mm, which means it can't be penetrated bow in. The main deck armor is 50mm and the side plating is 45mm. And basically this means that the Scharnhorst is functionally immune to cruiser HE in its middle portion. It's not immune. Its superstructure is not immune, but eventually the superstructure will saturate, and basically the largest portion of the Scharnhorst is quite resistant to HE damage. On top of that, it has 350mm of belt armor, which is quite strong, as well as 110mm total back, which is very strong in preventing citadels in close range combat, which is what the Scharnhorst excels in, getting close and wrecking other ships with its fantastic guns. But one of the issues with the Scharnhorst is its low HP compared to the Nagato and the Hood, which have upwards of 65,000 HP, and compared to the Colorado, which has a better heal compared to the Scharnhorst. The Scharnhorst is it's tanky in terms of its armor, but it's not very tanky in terms of its health pool. But that doesn't mean it's bad. It's a bad ship. It can definitely still tank damage. It's just that you have to play a little bit more careful with the Scharnhorst and not expose yourself to the whole entire enemy fleet, and try and take your engagements very carefully to avoid taking as unnecessary damage, so that you can survive for as long as possible and deal a lot of damage with your fast reloading guns. So moving on to the guns, the Scharnhorst has 9 283mm rifles arranged in 3 triple turrets in an ABX position, so 2 in the front, 1 in the back, and the guns have a very fast reload of 20 seconds, and they're very quick to turn with a 180-degree turning time of 22.8 seconds. And this is with expert marksman. Without expert marksman, I'm pretty sure it's about 25 seconds. The dispersion is a little bit poor at 261mm at 19.9 kilometers, compared to, say, the Nagato, which has a much tighter dispersion. But this Scharnhorst has I'm pretty sure has better sigma at 2.0 sigma, I think. The other thing which is very important about the Scharnhorst is that it has very fast shell velocity. It has the highest shell velocity for a battleship at tier 7 at 890 meters per second. What this means is that the Scharnhorst actually has railguns. They may not be very accurate compared to, say, some Russian guns, but they do travel very fast. They have very fantastic shell arcs, and you can most certainly nail cruisers and destroyers at longer distances, say at 15 to 17 kilometers. That is if you know how to aim, and you aren't sloppy with leading and guesstimating where the enemy positions will be in 10 to 15 seconds of time. Moving on to the secondaries are quite strong. The Scharnhorst probably has the best secondaries at tier 7, alongside the Gneisenau, and they all fire HE, which is fantastic. They can get up to a respectable 7.6 kilometers of range, but that doesn't feel long enough compared to, say, the range doesn't feel as long as compared to, say, the Bismarck or the Tirpitz, which can get to 10.6 kilometers of secondary range, which is one of the reasons why I don't prefer a secondary build on the Scharnhorst. But that being said, since the Scharnhorst is a premium, you can easily swap in a secondary captain and have some fun if you prefer brawling with secondaries. Next, moving on to the torpedo armament of the Scharnhorst. The Scharnhorst, like the Gneisenau, has torpedoes. It has two triple launchers, one on either side of the ship, and it fires the G7A T1 torpedo, which is the same torpedo which is found on the Königsberg, all the way up to the Hindenburg on the German cruiser line, and it is the same torpedo which is found on the Tirpitz. The torpedo has 6 kilometers of range, has a 1.3 kilometer detectability by sea, and does 13,700 damage. The Scharnhorst has a 68-second reload on the torpedoes, which is very good, especially when you consider that when you use Adrenaline Rush, that reload can drop to about 60 seconds when you're about half HP. The other good aspect of those torpedoes is that they're quite fast at 64 knots, but they don't but they're not as good as, say, the Graf Speed torpedoes, which are 8 kilometers. Sometimes it feels that the Scharnhorst, it could use a bit of extra torpedo range, but once you get close, the Scharnhorst is absolutely devastating in destroying ships, and some of the gameplay that I have will demonstrate how dangerous the Scharnhorst can be once you get in close range to enemy capital ships with your torpedoes. Next, the anti-air of the Scharnhorst is actually quite respectable. Completely stock without any anti-air captain skills or upgrades. The Scharnhorst probably has the second best anti-air when you compare to the other T7 battleships. The number one spot goes to the Gneisenau, which has most of its anti-air in its long-range guns, followed by the Scharnhorst, which does 116 damage per second at 4.5 kilometers. The next runner-up is probably the Colorado. However, its anti-air is focused in the mid to short range. The Hood also has gimmicky anti-air. By itself, without defensive fire, the Hood's anti-air is quite poor. However, when defensive fire is activated, its short range anti-air is crazy. It's through the roof. But if you're relying on a gimmick to protect yourself from a carrier strike, it's not going to, a seasoned carrier player will just bait out the defensive fire and then strike you after you've committed your defensive fire. And in that situation, the Hood it just doesn't compare to the Scharnhorst and its maneuverability in trying to avoid a carrier strike and dodging torpedoes, aerial drop torpedoes. In terms of the maneuverability and concealment, the Scharnhorst is a very maneuverable ship. It has a rudder shift of 14.5 seconds stock and a turning circle of 800 meters, which is quite good. When you equip the rudder shift upgrade, which reduces the rudder shift by 20%, the rudder shift drops down to 11.5 seconds, 11.6 seconds, I think, which is very good. And with a concealment captain skill, the concealment drops to 13.1 kilometers, which again is also very good in terms of closing the range in order to make your guns a bit more accurate. When you compare to the Hood has a worse concealment by 600 meters, which means that its lowest concealment is 13.5, and considering how bulky the Hood is with a turning circle of 900 meters, and given how slow it accelerates and how much of it kind of moves like a brick, the Scharnhorst is far more maneuverable and versatile in positioning itself around the map, even though the Hood might have a faster top speed of 32 knots compared to the Scharnhorst's 30. For the upgrades, the Scharnhorst can use a variety of upgrades depending on the type of build that you're looking for. In the first upgrade slot, I recommend Main Armaments Mod 1, since you want to protect your guns, your torpedoes from being knocked out. In the second slot, you can either take Secondaries or Anti-Air or Main Batteries Mod 2 to reduce the dispersion by 7%, All three are viable, just depending on your build. Probably the least useful is the anti-air. Probably the most useful is the main battery mod 2 in terms of just how often you use your guns. But I'm currently using the secondary upgrade, so I can slot in my Bismarck Tirpitz Captain, secondary spec Captain, and be able to fully utilize the Scharnhorst secondaries. In the third slot, there's nothing else useful except for damage control mod 1. And in the fourth slot, the last slot, you can either choose to take damage control mod 2 to reduce fire and flooding damage, or you can take the rudder shift upgrade to reduce your rudder shift from 14.5 seconds to 11.6. Both options are quite good. Just depends on your playstyle and what you prefer. For this, for my Scharnhorst, I usually run a tank build using my Kurfürst Captain, so I want to reduce fire damage as much as possible so I can just live as long as I can in order to deal as much damage in return so that I can contribute as much as I can to the team. So in terms of captain skills, personally I prefer running these 4 skills on almost all my high tier battleships and cruisers. My first point goes into priority target because I want to know how many ships are targeting me, and that can reveal a lot of information in terms of how many ships are close to me. It can also reveal if an enemy destroyer is torpedoing me by a drop in the number, especially when I'm spotted by nothing. I don't know what's spotting me, and I can't see anybody else, so I'm suspecting either a DD or cruiser that's close to me, and I can identify if he's dropping torpedoes. My second commander skill is Adrenaline Rush, which helps to reduce the reload of my main guns as well as my torpedoes and my secondary guns after I've taken some damage. In the third row, I like to take Superintendent because of extra heal, extra plane. It's not very useful, but since this is a premium ship, this captain is used on my Kurfürst, and for the Kurfürst, I'd like to have an extra Hydra and an extra heal. And finally, in the fourth slot, I like to take concealment because I want to drop my concealment as much as I can. The best way to tank damage is not to take any damage in the first place. If you're not spotted, you're not taking damage, and you're surviving for longer. Personally, I prefer running concealment, even on my Kurfürst. And those 4 skills are like the base of all my high tier battleships and cruisers. The remaining 9 points is what helps to differentiate the ship. So since the Kurfürst has very slow guns, I've taken Expert Marksman. Normally I wouldn't take Expert Marksman on the Scharnhorst. When I show my other captain, it doesn't have Expert Marksman. But so this is kind of like a carry through error. And the final 7 points, I like to take Basics of Survivability to drop the damage from fires and flooding. And I also like to take Fire Prevention, which helps to reduce the number of fires from 2 to 1 in the middle section of the ship. Given how large the superstructure is of the Scharnhorst, a lot of cruisers will aim for the middle portion of the ship, and it's quite likely that you'll get 2 fires in that middle portion. But when you only get 1 fire due to fire prevention, and given that the fire duration is pretty much halved by the stacking of Basics of Survivability and Damage Control mod 2 to about 35 seconds, you significantly reduce the amount of damage you take from fires, which just helps to let you survive for longer. This build may not be suitable for all players. This is what I like to run, but you can run whatever you want as long as you take Adrenaline Rush and Superintendent, which are probably the most useful skills for a battleship, especially the Scharnhorst. And finally, we'll have a look at my secondary spec captain for the Scharnhorst. So I still take priority target for my first point, Adrenaline Rush for my second point, Superintendent for my third point, and Concealment Expert for my fourth point. And with the 9 remaining points, for a secondary build, you have to take AFT, and you have to take manual secondaries. And with the last point left, there's nothing else kind of useful in that first row, except for Direction Center to slightly improve your anti-air. But what this basically means is that your secondaries now have 7.6 kilometers range when you use the secondary upgrade plus the flag, and they're very accurate in terms of damaging lighter ships such as cruisers and destroyers. The secondary build is not as effective in fighting against battleships, since your secondaries, just generally speaking, HE secondaries are only kind of useful in a 7+ kilometer range. What happens is that when you're too close, your secondaries will start hitting the side plating of battleships rather than the superstructure, and a lot of secondaries the caliber is too small and they'll actually break and not do damage in the middle section, like on the side plating of enemy battleships. Whereas if you're greater than 7 kilometers, the arc of fire means that most of your secondaries will hit the superstructure instead, or the top of the deck, which is usually less armored, and you tend to do more damage. However, with the Scharnhorst, that range is very small, between 7 to 7.6 kilometers, whereas with the Tirpitz and Bismarck, that range is actually quite large, between 7 and 10.6. So that's why I don't prefer running a secondary spec on the Scharnhorst. I just use the secondary upgrade just to increase the range slightly, but to be honest, you could get away with running main battery mod 2 instead, which I think is probably a bit more useful, and I might swap to that a bit later in the future. And now let's move on to some gameplay. So in the first game, the map is Fault Line. I'm playing with some Division friends, one of whom is in a Scharnhorst, the other is in a Fiji. We pushed the enemy flank down to C cap, but nothing really happened, so we decided that we needed to push into the B cap and help contest. We've lost a carrier, we've lost 4 ships, and they've got 2, and they've only lost 2. And there's a hood in front of us, there's a Scharnhorst in front of us, as well as a Shiratsu. So there's a lot of enemy threats in quite a close range. And here, this is actually quite a good demonstration about some of the strengths of the Scharnhorst. I try to stay angled as much as I can and do as much damage as I can in return. So I step onto the cap and I'm just trying to bait the enemy's torpedoes. There's a hood in front of us and I'm just waiting for the hood to make a mistake, either push towards his island, or he's going to go behind the island towards the left. And if he does, that means I can close the distance using the island as cover and torpedo him. There's also another DD in front of us, a T-22, and an Atlanta, and a Scharnhorst and Fuso behind that Atlanta. There's lots of ships trying to get close. So I try to take a shot at the T-22, do some damage, I launch the torpedoes. I guess I don't launch torpedoes, and I'm just trying to use this island. Yeah, I decided not to use the torpedoes because the hood is very, very close. And even, like, there's enemy planes coming towards me as well. There's, like, everything coming towards me. Fortunately, my Scharnhorst buddy is taking some of the flak as well, and I'm using this island as not only as cover, but also as a way of protecting myself from the planes. I take a shot at the Shiratsu because there's basically no point in shooting the hood at close range. I take a massive 22k damage with that. Because I've got a Citadel, because I've got Turtle back, I don't die. Instead, my torpedoes finish him off. And because of that quick reload, since I've taken so much damage, my reload is so quick. It's basically 16, 17 seconds. And I nail the Atlanta, and there's a Congo less than 6 kilometers towards me. I'm going to rush him down as much as I can and deal as much damage as I can in the next few salvos. Shiratsu's showing broadside. My Scharnhorst buddy goes down, but he didn't go down without a fight. He's done a lot of damage. And I launched my first torpedo salvo on the Congo with my left torpedoes, and I'm hoping that he eats them. And there's no point in me, continuing to shoot the Congo whilst he's angled. So I just take another shot at the Shiratsu, and because of that quick torpedo reload on the torpedoes, I'm able to launch my second set of torpedoes from the right side onto the Congo. And I try and just get one more salvo in on the Scharnhorst. My torpedoes, all 3 hit from the right side, and the Congo gets sniped by the carrier. And basically, in a few minutes, I went from 760 damage to over 100,000. Alright, and in the second game, the map is Estuary. Pretty sure I'm top tier in this game as well. And this game doesn't go as well as the previous game. We actually won that previous game. And yeah, I decided to head off towards A because I want to help the A flank. And this replay will go on for a little bit longer, and I'm just trying to get myself into a good position, probably around H4, G4, so I can do some heavy damage. Just keeping an eye on the enemy's movement. So the Podvoisky is on D, so if they start capping A, I know there's one DD, it'll be the other DD. So just keeping an eye out on their ships and what's being spotted. Our team is doing reasonably well. We're going half-half to A and half to D, and we should be able to contest A and D, considering how we've evenly spread out our ships. I see Budyoni at 15 kilometers. The Scharnhorst can fully penetrate the Budyoni bow in. Just that the bow in is quite a difficult shot to land. Since it's hard to guesstimate the how quickly he's closing in the distance. It's quite easy to overshoot or undershoot. I take a shot at the Budyoni, but he turns in, and so he dodges the salvo. It's not a big deal since the reload's only 20 seconds. For some reason, our Nicholas, he's done a good job of smoking our Atlanta and Algerie, but Atlanta and Algerie don't support that Nicholas, and the Nicholas dies, which is quite frustrating, to be honest. Like, it's pretty annoying. 2 overpens on the Budyoni, that's also pretty annoying. But I know there's a Texas and Scharnhorst up on the around C3, and this Budyoni is charging in. He's pretty much dead. Like, you're not going to survive against the Scharnhorst at 9 kilometers. And you can see that, sitting bow in, it's quite easy for the Scharnhorst to tank HE damage from cruisers. There's the Creme in front of us. The Atlanta, I think, has used radar. He's pushing it out of the smoke to kill that DD, which is very good. OP ship is dead. That's good. Only problem is we lost our DD for no reason. And using this island cover, I'm able to push in and try and close the distance a bit more. See a York who's showing broadside. Take a shot. Let's see what happens. 2 overpens, 1 bounce. He turned out, which is a bit annoying, but I'm just keep pushing and trying to use this smoke. I don't know how long the smoke will last, but I'm in a pretty good position where the enemy ships can't really shoot me, but I can shoot them back. I'm just going to slow down and not push too far forward, and I get a nice 10k on the York. Don't want to overextend unnecessarily. There's a York on B cap who can take shots at me, but he hasn't. And I try. He's slowing down, so I want to get a shot at him, but I think I lead a bit too much. Do I land a shell on him or not? Let's see. No, I think I missed him. Damn, that would have been a good shot. But you can see that the Scharnhorst doesn't. Even though the Scharnhorst has a bad dispersion at I think like 260 meters compared to other T7 battleships. The shell groupings at times can be quite accurate, but at other times they can be quite inaccurate. And there's a bit of RNGesus there, but when the Scharnhorst is accurate, it is very deadly. When the shell groupings align, it can be quite devastating. So when I hit that 10k on the York, and I hit the 4k on the Texas, which is a little bit disappointing. I bounced a few shells, broke a few shells. For some reason, Algerie decides he wants to push into a Texas and a Scharnhorst. I don't understand how these cruisers make mistakes like this. It's a bit frustrating when you have poor players. There's no reason for him to commit suicide. Basically, I know he wanted to cap, but you have to be a bit more careful and not overextend like he did. We've lost both our DDs. There's still a Podvoisky left, but we can see the Podvoisky is F8, and he's very close to our battleships. It's possible that Podvoisky might die, and it'll be an even DD encounter. We've got 1 DD left apparently, so if the enemy DDs die, we can possibly pull this back. Take another shot at the York. Hopefully he dies. The Scharnhorst is in front of me. To be honest, I should have shot the Scharnhorst, but he's kind of angled in. The Atlanta's peppering him with his HE. Hopefully he gets a fire or 2. And there's a Fuso behind me, and there's a Koenig also behind me, and to be honest, they should be shooting the Scharnhorst. I don't know what they're shooting. I don't see them shooting at all. I don't know what they're doing. Like I just launched a salvo, and I don't see any shells being fired from behind me. Like, I'm about to shoot again. Like, that's been 20 seconds. And I don't see any shells flying from our team onto the Scharnhorst or onto this Texas or York. I don't know what my team is doing. And it's quite frustrating because this Scharnhorst will eventually do a lot of damage to our team. And I don't know, like, how players can be so bad. We've lost another ship, the BB. Looks like the Podvosky got torps off onto that DD. Atlanta's just going in. Which is not very good. Like, the Koenig, like, what is he aiming at? I don't know. There's a Fuso behind me just baiting everything. Cruiser dies on the decap. You know, we've lost 5 ships, they've lost 3. Fortunately, I'm not being targeted too heavily, but I'm just trying to do as much damage as I can on that Scharnhorst, and that's an example of German dispersion. Even at 7 kilometers, you can get some questionable salvos, which is a bit frustrating, to be honest, but you have to make the best out of what you can. I just have to be careful that Scharnhorst hasn't launched torpedoes. Even though he's 7 kilometers away from me, since I'm closing in, the actual distance that those torpedoes need is I should be within his range. Fortunately, enemy DD dies. I take a shot on that Scharnhorst before he spots me, and I am able to use this island as cover so that he can't shoot me back. There we go. He does 7k, and I'll just launch those torpedoes around the island. I don't know if he's going to close in, but it's just better to launch them. I launched a spotter plane to spot him, but for some reason no one on my team is shooting him. It's really frustrating. Like, I'm telling my Koenig to set up his plane to spot that Scharnhorst. I'm pretty sure the Koenig has a plane. Somehow the Scharnhorst gets spotted. It's his plane, I'm assuming, so I just launched torpedoes in the gap. He might come through the gap, I don't know. But like, finally people are shooting at him. But it's just like, there's a ship in front of you and like you're not shooting at him. There's the Scharnhorst plane. I managed to shoot it down immediately, which is very good. Good RNGs is right there. York spotted, he's turning in. I hold my shot because I want him to commit to a turn. I pop my heal since I've enough HP to heal back now. Torps don't hit the Scharnhorst, which is a bit unfortunate. But the prediction was good. Missed the shots on the York. And I don't want to commit too far into the middle because I know there are about 3 or 4 ships around that middle area B cap, but I have to be careful not to. You know, I need to stay relevant. I put out the fire since he's got 2 on me. I don't want to burn to death. The Koenig for some reason decides he wants to man fight the Scharnhorst, and I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. Apparently, you know, when I question him later, he doesn't know that the Scharnhorst has torpedoes, which just blows my mind. The second thing I don't understand is why he doesn't go for the ram. Like, after you've eaten that much damage, why would you not go for the ram? Like, why would you just, you know, not ram? He decides to turn away and shows his broadside to the right, to that Scharnhorst's right side torpedoes. I'm trying to do as much damage as I can. Like, it's a bit annoying because I'm not getting, because my shells are breaking. I'm aiming at his upper belt, which is only 45mm thick, and I should be getting penetrating hits, but for some reason I'm not getting those hits. And like, you know, that Connie's like, I don't know the Scharnhorst has torpedoes. Like, I don't know, man. Like, how do you not know the Scharnhorst has torpedoes? This is like what makes the ship so good at Tier 7. It's like what defines the German battleships at Tier 7, torpedoes. And I don't know why, like, no one's shooting at him until now. Like, you know, he's almost dead, and the Fuso are like, just shoot, man, just shoot HE. I don't care if you use HE, just shoot. But instead, the Fuso is like playing scaredy cat. And even though I don't have a good salvo on him, I just have to take the shot and do as much damage as I can. 890. The Fuso is probably going to eat a torp, or 2 or 3. He's eaten 1. Alright, he managed to dodge it, but like, my team is stupid. Like, He just ate another salvo from the Scharnhorst, and he didn't kill him. Like, I had to kill him at 890 HP. That Fuso was like point blank. I don't understand how bad people can be. It's just so frustrating. Now we've lost 8 ships. The enemy team has lost 5. It's 4 versus 7. 4 versus 7. Let that sink in. Like, literally, we are losing so hard, and the Fuso in our team is quite questionable in his decision making. For some reason, the Colorado is at J9, and like another enemy battleship has chased him down to I9. This game is quickly degenerated, but I'm going to do as much damage as I can. It's time to YOLO! So there's a Texas in front of me, a Fuso in front of me, a York on the other side of the island. I don't want to show too much broadside, but I want to do as much damage as I can. I want to get my torpedoes off. So I take a shot at the Fuso. I try to slow down, but I don't slow down quickly enough, and I take pretty much half my HP, which is a bit annoying. But given that I've lost half my HP, there's really no excuses to stop now. Time to do as much damage as I can. I'm going to heal up in 10 seconds, which is good. Take a shot at the York. He's in second in range. I launch my torpedoes. Only 1 overpen. Frustrating. But those torpedoes on the Texas should hit. Ooh, the Fuso's taking some damage from something. There's a Cleveland as well. Alright, 2 hits on the Texas. Got flooding, got a fire. Cleveland's showing broadside, he's turning in. He's dead. Oh, not yet, he's about to die. Alright, he's dead. There's a York as well. Oh my god. Where did all these ships appear from? Alright, it's 4 versus 5. Texas is still flooding. He's still taking... Oh, something's on fire. Something's flooding. Do 5k on the Fuso. I'm trying to stay angled. Bounce his shots. Excellent. I've got my torpedoes on the... reloading on the left side. They just reloaded. Ooh, big salvo right there. I get another fire on the Texas, which is excellent. Torpedoes in the water. Fuso dead. Hoping to get my second set of torpedoes. I destroy the York. High caliber, double strike, crack and unleash Confederate. I don't manage to get the torps off on the Texas, but I quickly noticed that my damage counter is still ticking up, which means he's either still flooding or he's taking fire damage. So, despite my team performing so badly, I'm still able to, contribute way more than my team. And I've pretty much killed half the enemy fleet. Literally killed half the enemy fleet by myself. 164k damage done. Confederate high caliber double strike, Kraken unleashed, and it's just a flesh wound. In that time where I took down 5 enemy ships in the middle, my Fuso has somehow decided to beach himself at D3. I don't understand. I don't understand. You had all this time to reposition yourself, and he's at D3. Why? I don't know. Just the decision making is so poor at times. Colorado, he's on low HP, but it's a Fuso. If the Colorado plays smart, the Colorado should destroy this Fuso. If he just stays angled in, shoots him with his big heavy 406mm guns, the Colorado should be able to beat the Fuso. So I'm praying that the Colorado doesn't do anything stupid. The only danger is that York, who's still alive on the sea cap, could possibly burn Colorado to death, but the Fuso manages to kill him, which is good. Alright, fine, Fuso, good job. Good job. Fine, I accept, good job. Let's just hope this Colorado can not screw it up. So far he's playing it well. He's just angling well, doing a bit of damage, but this is where I kind of hope that the Fuso was a bit closer, in order to help kill this Colorado, to help kill this Fuso, and help our Colorado defeat him. So the Colorado is closing in. The closer the Colorado gets, it's actually better for the Colorado, since he can just go bow in and not take minimal damage. Gets a nice salvo, 4k with his front guns. Fuso shoots. Colorado is still angled in, and the Colorado takes barely any damage. I think Colorado just bounces it all, which is really good. For some reason, an idiot on our team side says the Fuso should cap B, which is too late. We should just kill this Fuso. Colorado gets another salvo in. Good. That's a good solid salvo. I think it was a Citadel. But the Colorado decides that he wants to use his rear turrets, I think. So the Fuso just shoots with his 2 front guns. And the Colorado, I think he decides that it's actually safe for him to now to show broadside because he's just shot the 2 front guns. But this is where the Colorado makes a mistake. So he shoots the 2 front guns. He decides that he wants to now use his rear turrets, and the Fuso decides that he also wants to use his rear turrets. So he doesn't manage to kill the Fuso with that salvo. But now the Colorado is just showing way too much broadside, and he dies. The enemy Fuso has pretty much secured the win, and that misplay by Colorado pretty much cost us the match. What was most frustrating was the Colorado. I'm pretty sure Colorado has a plane, and if he had launched a plane, that Fuso would have still been spotted. Maybe our Fuso could have got a salvo in, but yeah, that's the end of the game. So here are the scorecards: 528k credits, 3,330 experience, Confederate Kraken Unleashed, High Caliber, Double Strike, and it's just a flesh wound, 164k damage, 5 torpedo hits, 88 secondary hits, 3 citadels, 5 fires, and 6 enemies destroyed. All in all, a pretty good game. Base experience was about 1400, and to be honest, these games just highlight how devastating the Scharnhorst can be, and why it's one of the strongest premiums available at tier 7, and it's probably the most fun battleship available at tier 7, and why I consider it to be the Supremium. So buy the Scharnhorst, don't buy the Hood. So thanks for watching this very long review, and hopefully you guys got something out of it, and that's all for now. Stay tuned.